Chapter 1. The Slap That Broke the Silence. The marble floors of the Charleston City Courthouse reflected the early morning light like mirrors. Outside, the usual hum of reporters, attorneys, and clerks filled the air. Everyone assumed it would be just another unremarkable case on the docket, one of many processed through the system like clockwork. Inside Courtroom 4, however, the atmosphere was different. Tense, charged, as if the very walls were holding their breath. Officer Nathan Reese stood with a smug expression etched across his face. With his sharp jawline, arrogant posture, and piercing blue eyes, he looked more like a man auditioning for power than serving justice. Matt Connolly, his younger partner, stood to his right, nervous, quiet, and always a few paces behind. "How much longer?" Nathan snapped at the clerk, his voice slicing through the murmurs like a blade. "We don't have all day. Please be patient," the clerk replied, barely above a whisper. "Your Honor will arrive shortly." Just then, the heavy doors creaked open. A tall black woman walked in, her silver-streaked braids pulled neatly back. She wore no robe, only a suit, sharp, professional, composed. She didn't flinch. She didn't look uncertain. She moved with the kind of presence that demanded respect without ever asking for it. Nathan didn't see that. He didn't care to. He pointed directly at her. "Hey, you. I need a Jackson file. Now." She glanced at him, her expression unreadable. Without a word, she walked over to a nearby table, picked up a file, and calmly reviewed it. The room didn't even blink, but Nathan's ego did. He was used to people jumping when he barked. He stepped forward, his voice louder now. "I said I'm talking to you." Still, no reply. And then his hand moved. The slap exploded through the courtroom like gunfire. A moment of silence followed. Horrified silence. Matt froze. The clerk's jaw dropped. A pen rolled to the floor, and no one bent to pick it up. Every single person in the room felt the moment shift, felt something invisible snap. The woman's face turned slowly, her cheek red, but her eyes blazing with ice-cold control. Then she moved. Each step toward the judge's bench was deliberate, echoing through the stone hall like thunder. She opened the panel, pulled out the black robe, slipped it on. The courtroom held its breath. "I am Judge Amara Whitfield," she said clearly, every word a blade, "and I will be presiding over today's trial." Nathan Reese's world collapsed in an instant. Chapter 2. The System on Trial. Silence strangled the room. Judge Whitfield's gavel fell like a guillotine. Nathan's face drained of color. Matt stared ahead, sweat clinging to his brow. And yet Judge Whitfield, regal, unshaken, sat high above them, no longer a silent observer, but the commanding voice of the law. "You have just assaulted a sitting judge," she said to Nathan, her voice even, calm, and terrifying. "This is no longer just a disciplinary issue. I hereby order an immediate criminal investigation." Panic flashed through Nathan's eyes. "Why you? I didn't know who you were." "That is irrelevant," she replied coldly. "Ignorance does not excuse violence. Not in this courtroom." The courtroom watched, stunned, as power shifted in real time. The man who had once ruled the streets with a badge now stood helpless before the one woman he tried to belittle. But Amara knew this moment was bigger than her. This slap, it wasn't just about her. It was a symbol, a gateway, a key unlocking decades of buried corruption. That evening, in her chambers, she and her longtime investigator Carter Lang, a former officer turned whistleblower, began digging. "I want everything we have on Reese," she ordered. "All of it." Carter returned hours later with a mountain of documents, dropped cases, sealed complaints, whistleblower testimony, all linked to Officer Nathan Reese. But what made her blood run cold was the pattern. Every accusation had been filtered, suppressed, buried. "Who signed off on all of this?" she asked. Carter placed a name on her desk. Warren Holloway, senior judge. Her mentor, the very man who helped her ascend to the bench. Amara stared at the signature on one document. He had taught her justice. Now she realized he had been silencing it. Chapter 3. Justice Unleashed. The threats came first, veiled warnings, shadowy messages, even photos of her teenage grandson, snapped without permission on his bike ride home from school. You should know your place, one message read. There are things more valuable than truth, Your Honor. But Amara Whitfield did not back down. She had fought too long, risen too high, endured too much to be silenced now. She called in federal protection, raised security, prepared for war. Meanwhile, Carter's investigation deepened. The route wasn't just Reese. It spread across the prosecutor's office, police departments, and even the mayor's inner circle. The final nail came from a federal agent named Rosalind Kane, known for tearing down corrupt systems. Rosalind handed Amara a folder filled with surveillance photos and voice recordings, proof that Reese had been protected for years by Judge Holloway, Prosecutor Dean Winslow, and a network of shadowy officials. Then came a last call. Reese, desperate and cornered, made his move. Armed, headed straight for Mount Pleasant, toward Amara's home, toward her family. But the feds were ready. Black SUVs blocked the road. Armed agents surrounded Reese. He stepped out of his car, trembling, defeated. His eyes met Amara's. You've won, he said quietly. No, she replied, her voice steel. Justice has. And that was just the beginning. Epilogue, the flame that wouldn't die. Arrests followed. Public outcry exploded. Holloway, Winslow, dozens of others were brought down. Amara didn't celebrate. She worked. She pushed for reforms, protected witnesses, encouraged young lawyers. Until one day, she stepped down, not because she was tired, but because she wanted the movement to outlive her. Justice, she told her grandson one quiet evening, isn't one person. It's a garden. It blooms only if many care for it. And so, in the heart of Charleston, where truth had once been silenced, the seeds of a new system were planted by a woman who refused to look away when injustice stared her in the face.